Picky Busters podcast. Here we're going to talk and disagree about new music, old music, and which one out of Nick and Fran is the most wrong.
Oh, it's harsh.
So, which
Nick.
one is it?
It's obviously Nick.
Obviously
we'll
Nick.
see.
Yeah,
That's
I thought this time it might be Nick.
Oh.
And so you could hear Nick and Fran right there.
I am Fran.
Hello.
Hi,
I'm
Fran.
Nick.
Hi, Nick. And so before we get to this month's playlist, we are going to just mention that we launched the Picky Bees podcasts website this month.
You made that very complicated then. We launched the Picky Bastards website. Not the Picky Bastards podcast website, it's the Picky Bastards website. Just for people who might have been confused by that.
Thanks, Fran.
Okay. Oh, God. It's going to be a long night.
It's got everything Picky Bastards on it.
It has.
That's true.
And it's actually, we had a really good launch, so thanks for everyone for checking it out. And if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out once you've finished listening to this. And if it's your first time listening to this because you came from the website, welcome. And I hope you like it. We'll see.
I mean, we might need to tell them the website, which is pickybees.com.
So yeah, the website is pickybees.com. We also
so picky and
you're
then
killing this, Matt.
Picky and then B and then S.com.
Yeah.
Pickybees.com.
You're killing it, Matt.
Yeah, they'll get there.
They'll get there.
Just
Google.
Google.
They'll Google it.
And we also have a Facebook and Twitter, so you can follow along on there as well. So we're going to now talk about music. So we have six.
You're killing me, man.
6 albums.
This is dynamite material.
6 albums, as usual. And 4 new releases, and they're going to be Little Simz with Grey Area, Du Blonde.
Du Blonde. Yep.
And she has Long Bread for Daddy. Meat Puppets with Dusty Notes, and Solange with When I Get Home. We also have a classic album, which is Devo's album, Question, Are We Not Men? Answer, We Are Devo. And then...
Amazing title, I've got to say. Whatever you think of the album, amazing title.
Yeah, it's great. And then last, I'll tell you a little bit about why I love Willy Mason, specifically talking about the album Where the Humans Eat. And so, to kick us off, I'm going to ask Nick a question. Okay?
Okay.
Which album? You ready?
Yes, I think I'm ready.
You sure?
No, actually, increasingly no, I'm not sure.
No?
Go ahead anyway.
Okay. Which album did you have to be in a certain headspace to really engage with it?
I think I'm going to go with Solange for this. And I wanted to talk about the Solange album particularly because the last one, the name of which completely escapes me now.
A Seat at the Table.
A Seat at the Table was really fantastic work. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was the vocals were insanely good, but also so intricately woven, such a brilliant sort of collage. It was in the style of Blood Orange albums, and in fact Blood Orange had worked with it before on producing the album before that, I think. So there was like a natural connection there, but I really loved it. So this album, though, it was a little bit harder work, I felt, and it did take a certain mood, as I think you put it, to sort of get into it. I think it felt to me like the things that worked on the previous album, she had tried again, but they really kind of fell a bit flat on some occasions. I felt like it was struggling to find a direction some of the time. For one thing, it's a very long album. I think it's actually got 18, 19 tracks altogether with all these interludes, which is fine. Again, is in the style of the previous album, as I was saying. But it's really, it just seems to me this time to not hang together that well. It didn't seem to me like it really had the single focus or direction of the previous album, and that was really a pity. It's kind of missed opportunity. So when I was when I say I had to be in the right mood for it, almost I was at the point where I was listening to this one, would maybe listen to the old one, the previous one a little bit, and sort of get back into it on the basis of that. So it wasn't something that I sort of picked up naturally and sort of jumped into. And I suppose there were some really good tracks. I liked, is it Almeida I was really into. There's some crazy vocals again. Down with the Clique was a crazy vocals on that. There was some really good stuff, but if you're comparing it to the previous work, then I think it doesn't quite deliver, to be honest.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Fran?
I mean, Nick's said quite similar to what I'm going to say, but I'll say it anyway. So, talking about Seat at the Table, the previous album, I mean, I adored that album. I think I'd put it in sort of my top 20 or 30 albums of the decade, to be honest. It's that good.
Wow.
I think it's incredible.
And
what I really loved about that last album was the stories it told, the way it sort of had a narrative that carried it through, the songs and the interludes, and then just the honesty in some of the songs. I mean, you can probably guess where I'm going, but this album was a huge disappointment to me after that. I think,
huge disappointment.
Yeah, a huge disappointment.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
we went from sort of real storytelling and building a world for the listener to just a lot of. You say it's a long album, but actually it's not. It's got a lot of songs, but it's only about 37 minutes long in total.
Okay,
it's a lot of really brief songs.
Yeah, looking down the list, there's a number of songs less than 2 minutes. Yeah. Quite a lot. In fact, less
and
than
it's
2
just
minutes.
they're all really brief, and they've got there's a lot of them who've just got repeated refrain all the way through, and I think that starts from the start with Things I Imagined.
Yes.
For 1 minute 59, she just says things I imagined. Yeah. There are things I imagined.
Yeah. I agree. That got a bit vague and annoying.
Yeah, and I felt like there was quite a few songs that did that. And I've seen people saying that it's still as powerful an album as the last one in terms of its meshes and its intention, but for me, I think that's just being polite and not wanting to admit what a come down it is from the last album. I think I actually think it's extremely irritating at times. I think the repeated lines just got to me. There's so many songs where she just says the same thing again and again. And then there's other songs where she's just warbling along in the background, and I just didn't really get it. There is a couple of good tracks, but even my favourite track when it bins is, how long is it, like 1 minute 51?
Bins is 1:51, yeah.
And then, Almeida, I kind of liked it at first. Again, it's the one that's probably the most political in terms of, it's all talking about black-owned things and black business and that kind of thing, but she still does just repeat the same 7 lines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really excited about this album. I wanted to love it, but I didn't at all.
Yeah. What's your rate, Matt?
Yeah. It's going to be quite a boring start because I agree with everything.
Yeah.
I was really surprised by the press around this album because I was expecting something like as good as Seat at the Table, but really she didn't build on that. She just opted to, instead of taking that and moving forward, she just went to the esoteric instead. And it doesn't really. There's like you were saying, there's nothing to hang your hat on for what this album's about. And then with all the interludes, I think there were more interludes in Seat at the Table, but because of this kind of amorphous structure of the entire album, the interludes were even more disruptive.
I thought the interludes on the Seat at the Table weren't disruptive. I thought they were important. They were
exactly.
Little speeches about things that tied the songs together. Like she'd follow up the song "Don't Touch My Hair" with a woman talking about, how that kind of thing had affected her. Like people expecting they can just come up and say whatever they wanted to, and I think it really threaded it together. Yeah. Whereas here, it didn't. Well, carry on.
That is exactly that. There were little breaks that brought everything into sharp focus, and it just broke this already kind of lacked this thing that already lacked structure. And it just broke it up into even more tiny chunks, and so it just I didn't really dislike anything, but I didn't really like anything either.
Yeah. That's it. It's not unlistenable, is it? But it's just
it's perfect background music.
Yeah.
You want to put something on, you've got friends over, and you're not going to listen to it at all. It's sets a nice ambient tone. But that's not what we're really about, I don't think.
No, not after the power of the last album, I don't think. Well, there you go. That was nice. All agreeing and all being really good start, not being miserable.
We're all being equally picky, so I suppose.
So we'll next go to Fran. Which album had the greatest capacity to change how you are feeling, or you were feeling?
I mean, it's definitely Little Simz grey area for me. I found myself putting this album on pretty regularly in the morning when I was heading for my train. Yeah. I always wake up feeling absolutely miserable and knackered because that's who I am.
I can believe that.
But this, as soon as I put this on, as I got out of this sort of door, it starts so aggressively and with so much energy that it would really snap me out of like my early morning mood and just get me moving. And I think a big thing, we talked about Earl Sweatshirt on the last episode, and I said that, you know, I like hip hop that hits hard and that use the term slaps, which I'm still proud of because it's a great term.
The rest of us are pretty embarrassed.
But this is the kind of album I was talking about. I mean, those first 3 songs, Offence, Boss and Selfish, are just so strong.
Yeah.
It's hard not to kind of get inspired and get in a good mood, and that particularly on Boss, the chorus of "I'm a boss in a fucking dress," just the power with which he delivers that is absolutely brilliant. So I can't think of many albums that lay out their intentions so quickly and with so much focus so early on. And I also love that she ignored quite a lot of the trends in hip hop at the minute. So it's quite stark with the instrumentation. And a lot of stuff now is going very layered and very jazzy. And also there's no mumbled rapping. She's got a really amazing flow. She's strong, and it's her words that sort of lead the music.
Yeah.
So I think, she's telling a lot of important stories, and I think a lot of it's sort of Pressure and Share the Sunset is sort of about self-discovery and the past. And then tracks like Wounds talk a lot about the knife crisis at the minute. So for me, I thought it was really strong. It was definitely an album that could cheer me up all the way through.
Can I ask, if you remind me, have we covered Little Simz before? I know I've listened to Little Simz before, but have we done it on the podcast? I can't.
No, I'd never heard it before. Okay. Tom reviewed it on the website, one of the reviewers, but I'd never heard it before. For me, I think alongside Royal Corner that we did on an early episode of the podcast, it's probably one of my favourite UK hip hop albums of for the last 5 or 6 years. So really, really strong.
Okay, Matt, why don't you jump in?
Yeah. I agree.
Oh God, can we stop agreeing?
You both answered the questions in exactly the same way I would have answered the questions. This by far and away was the one that it got me going. And I really liked how rich the whole thing sounded. And to me, it sounded distinctly British in the way the beats and the music was put together, while not sounding super grimy like a lot of the hip hop and rap is at the moment coming from England. It reminded me more of Massive Attack and Gorillaz and the Streets compared to some of the other maybe contemporaries out there at the moment. Mm-hmm. And I was super, super into that. And I think, I don't think there was a single really song that was the best song for me. I just thought the whole album was super consistent and really good, pretty much every single song.
Great features as well. Four features on the album are all really strong.
I think I'd never heard of her, and I'm definitely gonna pay more attention now because I'm listening to her older stuff, because this was really a highlight for hip hop for me for probably the last 6 months.
Nice.
Right.
What do you reckon, Nick?
Well, I absolutely hated this album. I thought it was a joke, absolute joke. No, not at all. I loved it as well. I'm sorry to say, for the sake of our battles of will, but no, I thought it was excellent. I had heard the previous one, and which I liked, but this was a massive leap in progress for Little Simz. I thought it was the energy you're talking about was absolutely fantastic all the way through. It was really addictive sounding. Yeah. I love the messy kick drum on Boss, that overdriven kick drum is absolutely just so mean. I absolutely love that. I also think, like you're saying, it was very consistent. There's a couple of tracks I liked less. I liked 101 FM, I think, less.
I thought you would like this. I love that track.
Oh, yeah?
I really like that.
I thought there would be... I thought someone would... Because it's got the kind of...
The radio thing was a bit the radio sort of was a bit hackneyed. I felt like I get that, having a song and pretending it's on the radio. That didn't work for me. But that said, right before it, though, is the best song on the album. I think Venom, delivery-wise, is absolutely fabulous. Yeah, she's absolutely vicious, and at the end of these really fast flows, she then just ends with Venom and just stops, and it's just so hard-edged, So I love that as well. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to repeat what you both said so much. I mean, I just think it's the best rap album I've heard in the last many months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. Well, Now I can tell you that I've already organised Nick behind your back to go and see this with one of your friends. So you can come and join us if you want.
What?
Yeah. Me and Tom have already kind of had a bit of a discussion on Facebook and decided we were going to go and see them, but I thought I won't tell Nick yet.
Outrageous. Thanks a lot.
Hopefully it's not sold out for you.
Yeah, great. When is it?
No, we've not booked yet, to be fair. We just had a discussion about whether we go and see him. It's on in October, and I just messaged Tom because he'd reviewed it and said, I want to go and see it. Are you up for it? Well, I'll see Nick after the podcast. So there you go. You can now join.
Now you can. And I might think about joining you possibly, but I'll stand on the other side of the venue. I'm not going to stand next to you.
It's 12 quid to see her. She's amazing.
That's crazy, yeah.
That's still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so no, I absolutely loved it. So yeah, we managed to go through a double list of all agreeing on
yeah, can we have some disagreement on the next one?
Which is a bit of a worry.
Yeah.
What are you going to
break at the next one?
How are you going to
What, Fran?
Yes.
What album did you dislike the most out of the remaining ones?
That's hard. Oh, actually, no, it's not hard. I've forgotten about Devo. Yeah, so it's not hard because I'd forgotten the classic Devo's Am I a Man, Am I a Devo, or whatever it's called. I don't care what it's called.
It's an amazing title, come on. Question, are we not men? Answer, we are Devo.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, okay. Well, I didn't hate it. I just liked it the most out of the ones left, but I think, to go back a little bit, I thought it was quite interesting to listen to this after last episode when you spoke about the Talking Heads, Nick.
Yeah.
Because there were times during the album where I could see sort of some similarities, some attempts to sort of do, have a similar song construction and instrumentation. But for me, this is what you get when you try to be as creative as a band like Talking Heads, but you don't actually have the intelligence and the talent in terms of songwriting to do so.
I'm not going with intelligence, Jesus.
Well, some of the songs...
As you're comparing to Talking Heads, do you know who produced this album?
Was it Brian Eno? No.
Yeah, we're in partnership with David Bowie.
Bowie produced this album?
Yeah.
He's horrified now.
They competed. They competed.
Wow.
I want to cry. I'm really upset that Bowie had anything to do with producing the song Mongoloid.
Yeah, that was...
Because,
really
wow.
Yeah, that was really...
Yeah.
Really
that is offensive.
It was very offensive.
Is it was it less offensive?
Then,
do you think?
I think it was...
the youngest of the three of us tell us whether it was less offensive in the
Yeah,
70s. He's going to
what was it like in the 70s?
Exactly when you weren't born.
I read about it because I had this exact question.
Yeah.
And they're talking about it, because they're talking positively about it, it's kind of they say it's the kind of punk rock aesthetic of directly addressing the issue and using the word as a positive weapon.
Right.
Because in that song, they're deriding the kind of devolved people and then celebrating the Mongoloid.
I mean, it doesn't really sound like that, does it? Because when they're going on about it, they sound like they're really impressed because this Mongoloid could wear a hat at one point during the song, and you're just like, Jesus, man. He wore a hat, he had a job, but he was a Mongoloid. I'm just like, what is happening? Why are we thinking about this?
It seems...
Yeah.
But even when it wasn't that, when I say about the intelligence level is, I think, all right, maybe intelligence is a bit harsh, but...
It is very harsh.
It's just very vapid most of the time. It's very sort of, I get sometimes music's allowed to just be fun, but I think even when this was fun, it wasn't really that much fun. So, yeah.
Could you pick out one song in particular that's vapid? Because I think I can guess which one you're going to go with.
I mean, you're pointing at it now. Whip it, yeah, whip it. Whip it. What the hell was that about?
That's not on this album.
It's on the version we've got, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I know we had
That's from a later album.
We've got 4 live songs. I know we had an issue with you in America, aren't
okay.
you? And maybe you didn't get everything we got.
So that was the choice of Whip It.
Slap Your Mammy was pretty vapid. Uncontrollable Urge felt a bit creepy.
Yeah.
And then Too Much Paranoia, that's kind of when I was like, okay, they want to be Talking Heads. I don't know if they were after Talking Heads, but Too Much Paranoia was almost like...
Contemporaries, weren't they, I think?
Yeah. Too Much Paranoia almost felt like they'd listened to Talking Heads and thought, oh, they're really good at paranoia, so let's make a song called Too Much Paranoia.
78, Matt just said, yeah, so that's very contemporaneous, isn't it?
Well, anyway, that's where I landed on Devo, so...
Okay. I'll say the hardest thing to listen to this album is that I don't think you knew them, did you, at all?
No, never heard of them.
Whereas I did know, not the music so much as the visual image of them I don't know if you saw this, Matt, but they have this insane, like, they wear, like, what I can only describe as flower pots on their head.
Okay.
And they wear these weird outfits, matching outfits and stuff. So when I've heard, and really the only song I was familiar with was Whip It, when I've heard that song and they're in the crazy outfits with the flower pots, I've always just felt like they were really a parody band and not actually to be taken with any seriousness at all. I think in the end, I didn't hate this, and I sort of felt like I could see why it was actually fairly important at the time it came out, because again, yeah, I mean, I also know the Talking Heads influence or sound, you know, and there was an awful lot of that influence in there, although I think Talking Heads is let me just be clear, a far, far better band. Far better. But I can see why this band, you know, they've got a lot of cult following and people consider them to be extremely important in terms of sort of new wave punk bands and sort of slightly electronic and those kind of things. I think that's stuff that I can see why they had that. There were definitely uncomfortable things about some of the songs. Franz referred to all of the ones I was going to refer to as well. So that was a problem. I also... the thing that I suppose wore me to the most was the idea that they were a bit like the Buzzcocks, which I love the Buzzcocks, and I think the Buzzcocks are also a bad band. But I can see how that when you can get that mental picture, when I could get that mental picture out of my head of the Flower Pots, then it felt like the Buzzcocks were actually somehow connected to what this sort of quite high energy, fast punk band were doing. So overall, I find it a bit chirpy at times. Kind of bouncy in a way that I'm not really interested in as a genre, which is no surprise to anyone, I don't think. But yeah, in the end, I didn't actually hate it. I thought it was worth a turn and sort of interesting to hear. What do you rate, Matt?
I really enjoyed this album.
Okay.
I thought it was great.
Mongoloid the most. Was that your favourite?
No, it wasn't my favourite, but it was near the top.
Glad. I literally thought you were doing what I did, and actually, were you actually joking when you said you really liked it?
No, I thought it was great. There's obviously it's dated, yeah, right, and there are some questionable things, which isn't great, but I think it's of its time, and like it. They kind of just, it seems like it's just big project where they just embrace this idea of devolution and everything's about that. And they just keep doing stuff about that. And they think everything is kind of ridiculous.
Tell me about the devolution thing. Tell me more about that. I want to understand better what you mean.
Jocko Homo is about it, like the lyrics are talking about like suburban America.
Okay.
And like how we're like, I think at that time the concept of devolution was quite big in the fact that we're just like going away from the apex of humanity and like really just becoming a bit shit.
Oh, I see what you mean, right.
And
is that why they're called Devo?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, he's doing research as well.
And so I thought it was like the whole idea behind it is fun. It was kind of, the music is, yeah, it's like some of it's a bit ridiculous, but it's like if you listen to like B-52s, it's of the same ilk.
That's a very good analogy. B-52s is a very good analogy. Do you know them, Fran?
I know of them. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
And they're also will like fill up dance floors. They will also make some really like
also hate them,
yeah. I love them, but there's even a song that is like the Hokey Cokey parody song about praying. Like it's so ridiculous and tongue in cheek the entire way through.
Right. Can I ask you? Had you therefore as a fan, you had seen the Flower Pots, had you?
Yeah, I'd only heard Whip It before.
Yeah,
and that was what made you think I'll recommend this album.
Whip It was like fun and silly, but I've seen like it seems to be growing in its reputation. This album,
yeah, people
are looking back on it and going, "Hey, this was actually important." And so I thought we should listen to it.
Who were those people?
I'm glad we did.
I know a lot of people who think it's some bad
really.
Yeah, I know a lot of people.
It's like in like top 100 albums of whatever or blah blah blah.
I mean, they're not as bad as like XTC that we did as a classic once. That's my highest praise for this band.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's touching how you said that. So we have a complete range on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good because we were getting to agree.
I know. Yeah. I mean,
Cool.
I think you're both kind of wrong on that one, really. I've got to say, I'm somewhere in the middle.
Just boring, average. That's where you're going.
Oh, I see. I thought the album was boring and average. I thought you just reassessed it based on my answer. Oh, good point, Nick. In that case, they are boring and average.
Right, where are we going, Matt?
Okay, what's up?
Nick, do you want to tell me about Du Blonde? Du Blonde.
Yes, okay.
Home Bread for Daddy.
Yes, I mean,
love the name.
Yeah. I suppose overall, I think this album's got a lot more. It's more about potential for me than it is about delivery. There are some things I liked about it.
Good to know we're going to disagree at some point.
Thanks for giving that away. I think there's a lot of ideas in it that are interesting, and lyrically, I thought it was really, really clever and had a lot of sort of fun things to say, and I think kind of profound things in some ways, particularly about gender identity and stuff. So about feminism as well. So I did like a lot of that stuff. I think that musically it worked reasonably well, but it sometimes felt a bit flat. Like some of the tracks, some of the actual melodic structure seemed a bit like predictable and obvious. Particularly, I'm thinking of the first early in the album. I think maybe the Coffee Machine, Holiday Resort. I think is another one where it just felt like it was, or it just felt like I knew where they were going to go before they got there, and that seemed like a pity. But I think, and influences wise, I've really heard a lot of Pixies and Breeders, those kind of bands in this.
Why are you talking about influences? Did you not hear any of one of your favourite artists in this album?
Go on.
Miss PJ Harvey.
It's pretty loose. I mean, I'd say not really.
Huge influence.
I mean, to the extent that PJ Harvey influences like as many bands as Radiohead does, then yeah, sure. She's an absolute leader in anyone who does anything remotely interested in guitar music.
It's a very PJ Harvey album.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with Nick.
Yeah. So
we
can't agree yet because I'm finished speaking, so you're not allowed to agree.
On this point.
Okay, all right. So what's the one? RBY I thought was probably the strongest song on the album. I did like Peach Meat as well, but that's the one that sounds most like a Breeders song. And in that sense, I couldn't really decide on whether I felt like that was okay. It's been a while since that band was in their heyday. Maybe it's okay to sort of bring that round again, or if it was just a little bit derivative. So I think there's, I say, potential. I think I'll look for the next one, and I'll definitely listen to the next one. I don't know that I'll rush back to this one a lot.
Okay.
Go for it, Matt.
I thought this was really straightforward indie rock that overall made me feel meh. I was just.
I'm so surprised by these reactions.
It was really just very simple and it's kind of fuzzy and nothing really happened. I felt like
Devo were good.
Like I don't know if I like Days Like These. I liked because there was a bit more musically interesting. There was some piano and there was some interplay between the piano and the guitar.
Okay.
But most of the time, it just didn't feel like there was that much going on to like really grab me and make me listen to this album. And it wasn't the worst thing on the playlist, but I don't.
Will you won't go back? Is that what you're saying?
I won't go back, and it probably was not enough to make me ever want to listen to her again.
Wow. And I was going to say, did you think? To me, it sounds like she was trying to do something a bit like the Mitski album, which I know we had divided opinions on last time. But to me, there was a little bit of like trying to write an album that was somewhat experimental. It was less so than the Mitski and less effective in most respects, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I just wondered if that had occurred to anyone. Obviously not.
I didn't think of Mitski I listened to this album now because I hated the Mitski album. So.
I thought Mitski was 100 times better.
Okay. I would agree with that. I mean, I think it was definitely significantly better, but I just didn't know.
No, it definitely wasn't.
Okay.
Should we just skip Fran's opinion?
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. Go on then, Fran.
I genuinely feel sorry for both of you right now.
Sorry.
I think it's really sad that you didn't understand the beauty of this album.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I mean, you both talked about the simplicity of it. I think that's what I actually really liked about it. For me, I think she was at her best when it was just her, the guitar, and her like really almost caustic lyrics, you know, the anger in some of the songs. And I absolutely love Holiday Resort, which Nick just picked out as the worst song.
Yeah, I'm up there with them.
I think she's lyrically incredible. You know, I love on that song as well just how pared back it is. She's just really open about missing the next partner, even though it's someone that was no good for her. And some of the lyrics, so I've written a couple down. The lines, spoke to my doctor, he said I've passed my peak, all my eggs are dying, in my 20s I'm antique, which I thought was pretty...
And it's just about, I don't even know, didn't even get to harness my mystique.
Yeah.
I love that line as well.
Yeah.
It was good lyrics.
I spend my days in the solace of my room, pulling pubic hairs from the crotch of my swimming costume.
Yeah.
And then I just thought the theme of the line towards the end where she just says, but baby, you can call me if you're ever horny. I know you like to hear your name, but I don't mind pretending if I get to hear your voice again. I just thought it was really sort of, because she's funny and she's she's brutally honest, but also that's a really sad line as well.
Yeah.
Someone singing about their ex, and I think she just delivers it so well with that just simple guitar tune in the background.
They're good lyrics.
I agree, they're good
lyrically
lyrics.
incredible. And then I love that she then followed that song with Baby Talk, which is like the biggest sort of rocker on the album. And I just think it's really well structured throughout. I think it's really well paced. I think there's a narrative that drives you through, and she's presenting a character that she sticks to throughout the songs. She's bitter, funny, angry.
Holiday Resort, though, let me just back up a little bit. Holiday Resort, I already said I thought the lyrics were really strong. Holiday Resort's a great example of where the actual music, the actual melody behind that is really, really just mundane, isn't it?
No, I don't agree.
I found that to be exciting, change direction.
No, I don't agree. I think it's the simplicity of some of these songs that, you know, it's not everything has to be massively complicated and massively layered and everything. I think what she does well is simplicity, and she hits that on a lot of these songs, and I think that suits this style of music. And I think, it's not the most complex album in the world, but not everything has to be complex. I think she does what she does really well. I think it's a great album. And I like the sort of simple, minimal, straightforward elements of it.
Fine.
With just amazing lyrics over the top of it. So you two, Yeah,
we're all agreed about the lyrics. You can stop going about the lyrics now.
Yeah.
Right? And just move on to the music, which is not that great.
No, the music's great. The lyrics are great. She's great. And you're wrong.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we're back to the normal order of business now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Slaying each other, nice.
So Meat Puppets.
That leaves one, Meat Puppets. I think Matt should go first on Meat Puppets.
I'll start with Meat Puppets. This was my least favourite album to listen to this month. I think the country drawl combined with the very plucking play style was just all a bit much, all a bit cheesy. And it just felt like I was sat on a porch somewhere in deep America watching my uncle's band play, and and it really I don't want to be there.
Isn't your uncle from in southern England?
Yeah, your uncle as well.
You wonder what the hell he's doing there.
But it just because of that style, it just all felt a bit processional.
Right.
And I haven't actually listened to Meat Puppets before, but I've heard people talk about them, and I was expecting a lot more based on that, and I expected more bite, and it just felt kind of annoying. And the only time I felt like this was the band I was expecting, it was the song at the end about vampires.
Vampires Winged Fantasy.
And but that just doesn't belong in the album because it's completely different. So I was just I had a hard time listening to this. So I'm curious.
Okay.
What you guys think?
I'll jump in.
Oh yeah.
Because kind of where you ended is where I started. Kind of before I'd even heard this album, I thought I was going to absolutely hate it. And I'll be honest, it's because I'm a judgmental twat.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
I thought they were called Meat Puppets, and that was bad enough. And then I saw the photo of them on Spotify, and I thought, I'm going to fucking hate this. But I didn't hate it. I was actually quite pleasantly surprised. It's kind of full of reasonably catchy melodies, and it's a mix of styles. And I'd even go as far as to say I liked the songs on and The Great Awakening. That's kind of a pleasant surprise, but probably about as far as I can go. Because as much as I didn't hate it, it wasn't really for me either. It's kind of the most dated new release we've ever covered on Picky Bastards.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's from 200 years ago, but that's not always a bad thing. So it was a better experience than I expected it to be, but it isn't something I'll be going back to. And that's kind of me on Meat Puppets.
I was haunted. I'm haunted by two things, and one from each of you, in fact, about this album. Nice. The fact that Matt said it doesn't really have that much bite. It just makes me laugh to think of this album with any bite at all. Like this album has got like this like sawtooth like toughness about it. That would be absolutely amazing. And secondly, when this was actually listed as one of the possible reviews on our listing for the writers on the site on pickybees.com, please go there.
Pickybees.com.
But in that, like Fran gave a little description of each one, and all I remember was he wrote pirate.
Yeah, well, I always try to put the genre down, and I couldn't work out what genre this was. I just listened to Sea of Heartbreak on YouTube, and I was like, okay, pirates.
It's amazing because, and honestly, I've got to say, a bit like the flower pots on Devo's head, the word pirate just hung over that whole listening experience all the way through. I just couldn't get away from it. And every time I think about it, I just burst out laughing. So that's one of Fran's few amusing remarks. So well done, Fran.
Thanks for that.
So I will say that the reason I picked this album was because, that's it, because Kurt Cobain liked this band and played with this band on Unplugged, on the famous Unplugged session. And that on its own made me feel like, wow, there must be some really interesting stuff going on that, like, to show, the taste that he has and sort of learn more about what his roots in music were, Ultimately, the album didn't really win me over, though, mostly because it was quite, I don't know what word Matt used, I think, but it was quite kind of, again, using that word chirpy. It was kind of like, it was kind of a off-on kind of beat all the time. Very hard plucked, like mandolin and stuff like that, and guitars and stuff. So that was never really going to be the kind of stuff I would be that interested in personally. I'm speaking for myself. I will just back up and say, I'll give Fran full credit for the attempt to try and reassess the original reaction to the band. That's good work. Because
I do
that. No, you don't. You're supposed to be ever done it in 21 episodes. I think it's ultimately got a few songs that I thought were okay, like Unfrozen Memory. I thought was pretty interesting. I thought Great Awakening was all right, as Fran had mentioned, but I think it was never really something I could get through to pass the sort of, I don't want to say silliness is unfair, but the kind of facile sort of way in which they were just sort of playing through these little beboppy type melodies. Little ditties, yes, thank you. And also it kind of showed to me, going back to the comment about Kurt Cobain at the start, that it really does show people have taste in music that's nothing at all. Well, maybe you two disagree, but to me, nothing at all like what they did themselves.
But then I think the other thing to say is, I think it's 20 years this week since Kurt Cobain died, and I think Meat Puppets, from the impression I get, is the Meat Puppets have been quite a changeable band throughout their career. I don't necessarily think this is that similar to what they were doing at the time. I think,
but let's put it this way: if they were playing something akin to like a Nirvana 20 years ago, and you were a fan of them then. And you listen to this, what would you do? Jump out the window or something, wouldn't you?
I mean, what do we think about Vampire's Winged Fantasy? And if it had been an album of those kinds of songs, would that be a
I'd enjoy that album? I think. But maybe that's just because it was buried within this. That I like, but I enjoyed that song a certain extent.
It's odd, wasn't it? That it was how it was.
It was, I don't get why it was there. It felt like they were doing a cover or something.
See if Heartbreak's a cover, if that helps.
But they actually did. So MTV Unplugged of Nirvana has 3, I think it's 2 or 3 songs by Meat Puppets that Kurt Cobain sings. Have you ever heard that? I can't remember which ones they are now, but so that's again. I couldn't believe it really that this is what. But maybe Fran's right. They've changed the hell a lot over the intervening period.
I think we all need to go listen. To at least what.
Maybe I'm right in the sense that maybe it's just not a. Maybe this is something that's quite. He hears something quite different in it. He heard something quite different in it from his own style of music. That'd be interesting in itself, I suppose. But still, doesn't mean I'll be going back to this album though, which I don't think I will, to be honest with you.
No.
No.
Oh, even you're saying no. Frank's saying no as
I
well.
won't go back to it.
I ban you. Ban everyone.
I'll definitely not go back to it.
Okay, fair enough.
No.
All right, so on to the Why I Love, I think.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about Willy Mason. Okay, and so when this album came out, he was really kind of heralded as a brand new voice. He was 19. He was singing this folk music, and people were comparing him to kind of some of the greats.
And when was this, by the way? Can you tell me?
This was 2004.
Okay.
And I guess his career never really kind of took off from here as much as I kind of thought it would at the time. But after this, reading interviews, it seems like a lot of it's his own choice. He likes to tour minimally. He likes to not produce records that often. But really for me, this album was really important because I remember seeing Oxygen, which is kind of unlike the rest of the album. It's quite distinct. I remember seeing the video for that on MTV2 while I was just sat by myself in the living room and really connecting with the song. And at the time, I was like 15. I was super angsty. I was into new metal, and
I can't picture any of that.
I can't imagine you being angsty ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Strokes, literally, just I had really exclusionary tastes, and I would be like, if you're not listening to indie rock, then you're not listening to music, which is super dumb. But this kind of opened a door for me into there's other ways to tell stories in music, and his really witty lyrics that were so cynical really kind of appealed to me when you're this super nihilistic teenager being all edgy.
Edgy Matt.
Yeah. And this is also this also came out in the same month as another really important album for me, which was the Jay-Z Linkin Park Collision Course, because that opened it is what it is, but it opened up hip hop to me. And I think the joint thing of these two musics really broadened my horizon musically.
I see what you're saying, I suppose. I was going to say I don't really see a massive overlap between Willy Mason and...
Yeah, but I get
that
the two things came along at the same time, and that's interesting.
But more than that, I think it was a really important album for the music scene in general. This, I think, was really a forerunner for folk music actually, and country folk actually doing well in the charts. This was being played on Radio 1, and then a year later you got Noah and the Whale, a year later you got Mumford & Sons, a year later you got Laura Marling, and I really think he opened the door for that. And so, like I said, it came out in 2004, and if you go on Wikipedia and look at when the new folk movement really started, they put 2005.
Right.
And so I think this opened the doors, and he didn't really... Some people have given him credit, but a lot of people don't really realize who he is or what he did. And he's kind of just disappeared.
So he's not active at all now, or he's just taking a break?
Well, he's since 2004, he's released 2 other albums.
I saw him live last year, so I know he's still touring and stuff.
And he did a tour last year, but it was quite minimal. He played he's from New York, but he played a tiny room in New York. He does a lot better in England than anywhere else.
I mean, he played the Trades Club in Hebden Bridge, which is a small venue as well. So I think he was touring small venues over here. But I mean, it was packed full of people who obviously loved him.
But yeah, so I'm curious what you guys think of the album.
Sure.
Nick, first. So I've known of Willy Mason for a long time, and I think that's really interesting, some of the context you just gave, because you just named a lot. I mean, I'm still a massive Laura Marling fan.
He's obsessed, believe me.
Yeah, a little bit. And then the likes of sort of Noah and the Whale I loved at that time, and I actually loved Mumford & Sons' first album when that came out. Completely died on their arse since then. But Matt, I remember at uni, that was constant in
obsessed.
Our house. I was obsessed, and I still stand by it being a very good album, the first album.
Awful.
No, it's not. Have you listened to it?
It's great.
It's great.
The
first album's really good. And
they're very fun live.
They're really good. I mean, we're saying they are. I think we should say they were.
Yeah.
I do think they've died on their arse.
I mean, I think the best thing is probably the tweed waistcoat. I love that.
I like a tweed waistcoat. But yeah, so there's a lot of music in that vein. And Tallest Man on Earth, I heard as a Willy Mason fan, and I'm a massive fan of him. And I think it's interesting to hear that, because as much as I've known him for a long time, I didn't know a lot of the songs, and I knew Our Town and So Long off this album. And I kind of felt like I should be a fan. And as I said, I saw him with Kim and Mike, who both write for the website, when they had a spare ticket. Mike was on the podcast. Yeah. And I could sense how good he was, and I enjoyed the gig, but something kind of held me back from loving it. I think maybe because I felt a bit left out, with everybody in the room being sort of almost emotional to see him, and I didn't quite feel like I fit, if you know what I mean, because I didn't know a lot of it. So it was really good to spend some time with him this month, and there are songs on this album that I absolutely love. Oxygen's one of them. Hard Hand to Hold is another, and Where the Humans Eat I adored. And I think the lyrics to, you mentioned his lyrics, the lyrics to Where the Humans Eat are absolutely brilliant. There's a line about, I just fed you and your fat brother. And I don't know why, but that got me every time. It's just a great lyric, and there's lyrics throughout that are really, really good. And I think lyrically is where he stands out for me. And I also think his influences are really clear. People like Dylan, Rodriguez, and that's fine because I love those artists. But I have to admit, there's still something that's holding me back from really loving him at the minute. I don't know what it is, because there's all the ingredients there for me to really get into him, and I do like him. But like when you introduced Just a Big Thief, for example, Matt, you know, like I was
you jumped
on
in.
it, and I had to buy all the vinyl, and I went to see them live, and I don't quite get that feeling with him, and I'm not sure what it is that's holding me back. Apart from, I think maybe at times he's a little bit earnest in his presentation of the songs a little bit, and maybe that's dated a little bit.
Maybe you should try some of his newer.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. My last point that I've got is that I think I probably need to spend a bit of time with his other albums before I completely make my mind up.
There's only one other album, so he did 2 albums.
I think he's got 3. Is it 3 albums?
He's got 3 total.
So I think I probably need to spend, because I think there's bits of this album that I think are absolutely magic and like really top class, but then there are a few instances where I'm less sure. But I do like it a lot, so not negative, just maybe need to spend more time figuring it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in general, I think a lot of what you both said about the lyrical side of it, it really works well for me, and I really got into it. I thought a good example was, I haven't written the lyrics down, but Still a Fly. There was a lot of tracks actually I thought were lyrically really clever and witty, and I think he really carries that through really well. I can also see, I didn't know this stuff about the context of his sort of almost invention of this resurgence in country folk and stuff, but I can see now you're talking about in the date range how important that is. It's funny when Francis something held him back. Something held me back as well, but I think I do know what it is actually, which is when he did the quieter songs, I enjoyed those more, like the slightly more restrained songs. When he got into a bit more and sort of amped his vocal up, I found his vocal to sometimes be slightly, I didn't hate it, but slightly too tight or tense or something. I can't really think of the word, but it didn't make. I kind of found it slightly off-putting sometimes the way he delivered when he was trying to go for a bit more. I mean, it certainly wasn't like shouting, but when he was pushing his vocal harder, you know. That doesn't affect obviously the lyrical stuff was great. The genre's not that I listened to a hell of a lot, but it was. I can see it's quite. Lots of it is really quite beautiful, really, honestly. But yeah, and the lyrical stuff is unaffected by the singing, as I say. But when he pulled back, it was better than when he went through the vocals.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what Fran's referring to when he doesn't know what the thing is, but that's the thing for me that held me back slightly. But that's not a serious criticism overall. I'm really glad that you introduced it to me, and I definitely will go back to it. Unlike lots of the others tonight, I will actually go back to this one.
I did wonder about the vocals. He's not the best singer in the world, is he? But then neither's Dylan and neither's Rodriguez and neither's a lot of people that do the similar kind of stuff to him. And I don't think.
I mean, that's more about, for me, vocals. It's more about idiosyncrasy in it. It's not, but there are still tones that work.
Yeah, and
nicer
I think
on
that's
the ear
why
and less nice on the
slower
ear.
songs like Where the Humans Eat and stuff are probably because he almost talks them, doesn't he? And if you've got
the delicacy of that really works well.
You can talk those kind of, and I think
maybe I also wonder. I mean, this is probably a bit controversial, but maybe I wonder if this kind of genre works when it's really loud and really sort of not really loud, when it pushes it harder. Maybe it should be more delicate. Like, like I think of Laura Marling. I'm not nearly an expert as Fran is on the subject, but with Laura Marling, I don't feel like she does like sort of banging tunes. They're kind of like restrained.
Yeah, most of the time. But then with the short movie album, she went a bit rockier
that's
for
the
a
album
little bit, and still kind of still delivered.
Yeah, I was going to say
she's Marlon, isn't she? So
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do it. I mean, you're a big fan of Laura Marling, aren't you, Matt? So it might be boring for you, but I might do it at some point.
I'm always up for listening to her. Yeah. She's got a bunch of albums, so
yeah.
But yeah, well, in the subsequent albums, he also picks up the electric guitar more.
Okay.
So it's a bit more diverse.
That might actually work better, like with the tones of an electric behind his vocal. It might actually sound a bit more fitting, you know?
Yeah.
I think when I hear something that's like almost a sort of skiffle type, melodic structure underneath, it's quite, it's banged on, but it's not really shredding it at all. And maybe the vocal doesn't sit well with that for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I would actually say, some of his subsequent albums I would say are probably better, but this one is more meaningful.
This is the one that you picked the right one in that case.
But what you said about the way it opened your eyes up was kind of what I said when I presented The National as an artist I love, because that was the thing for me. It was kind of this like, oh my god, I've been listening to Oasis for 10 years, and there's a band that can actually sing about things, and it is that moment. I mean, I'll always adore them, and I think they're still doing great stuff, but I'll always love them because of that initial connection.
So I think you stopped with Oasis for years and you went to
it was huge, and it changed a lot. I started listening to a lot of different stuff because of that. It's similar to what you've just said, Matt. So I think it's there's always those artists, isn't there, that they start to change your.
Yeah, they come along at the right time.
It's great. Well, I'm not,
and I'll definitely check out the other ones, especially if you're saying you think they might be stronger. That's even more the case. So, I'll be back to this stuff and I'll check it out more. Yeah. And if he was in town, I'd go. I think. Yeah,
it was a good gig. Like I say, it's just one of those things when you can just see how connected everyone is, and you just feel a bit like, oh, I wish I was enjoying this as much as all these people are crying and screaming. I'm not, but yeah. What's your favourites on this album, Matt?
I love Oxygen, but it's very unique in its style. Hard Hand to Hold probably is my favourite.
Yeah.
But it depends on what I'm listening to it for. Sometimes I need it for stuff, so then different songs matter more.
Okay. Okay. Do you know what Where the Humans Eat is about? The song, because stuff about I fed you and your fat brother and everything. I mean, is he singing to an animal? Is he singing to? I don't know what's going on, but I love it. I think it is about his pet. Right. I felt like it was kind of just clicked with me sort of yesterday. I was like, oh, maybe he's singing to a dog or yeah, I think it's his pet cat, but I could be wrong. I remember reading about it like years ago. Well, I'm going to sing it to my cat for the rest of my life now, so. He needs a fat brother. He's not doing that. No, you can be the fat brother. I'll be the fat. Thanks, mate. He got it for you. All right, so cool. I think that's everything. I know we got to talk about next time. It is. Yeah. And, so next I'll just tell you that I'm running it. Yeah, I'm running it next time, aren't I? You are. Yeah. And I'm running it because I have invited in a guest this time, and it is my brother, Lewis, the musician, the musician of the family. Oh, yeah. I really. Sometimes you just say stupid stuff. Sometimes it really hurts. So he's coming in for our next podcast, and he will pick one of the new albums, a classic, and the Why I Love. So his choices will be for the classic, ABBA, Arrival. Woo! Yeah. For the new album, Dave, Psychodrama. And for the Why I Love, CTM's Red Dragon. And then I'll add in a new album from me, which is American Football's LP3. So what about you two? I'm going with No Words Left. I think that's what it's called, by Lucy Rose. Yep. It is No Words Left, yeah. It is. Yeah. And I'm doing These New Puritans with their album Inside the Rose. Fantastic. Cool. So cool. Yeah, we'll all wait to see whether Lewis is funnier than me, cleverer than me, wittier than me. I mean, if he's certainly younger than me, we could see what happens next time, and maybe we could get him to sort of take over. Because feel like we need a bit of a...
We live in Denmark, so you better fuck off there.
You're an improved.
It's fine.
The younger model.
All right, cool. Well, that's that then. Please go to the website and check us out. And if you like the podcast, follow it. And we will see you next time.
See you next time,
Yeah.
people.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye.